Yes. So good evening to everyone and welcome to Real Talk. Today, Monday, the 19th of January 2026. And as we know, today is another day that the Lord has given us and we are grateful for it. With us tonight, we have our president, Mr. Claudia Sanford, and we have also with us our political leader, Dr. Thomson Fontaine, renowned world economist. I always like to give you a title. And so tonight we'll be talking of some current issues, a current development, but nonetheless, they are very important with respect to what is happening in our country. We have the whole issue of confirmation and the idea that the Electoral Commission, I don't know what authority under law that gave them to have a cessation on new registration. We'll be exploring that. We also have the situation whereby we have third country citizens whom the American government, well, from some time ago, the American government have actually concluded, I believe, some agreement with some small island states that will give the panelists the option, not the option, but the time to comment on. And other issues, by and large, that are affecting us. So, gentlemen, I want to say good night to you, good evening to you all. How was your day? How was your weekend? Tell us about it.
I'll let the president go first.
Good night, Soso. Good night, Dr. Fontaine. Again, it's always a pleasure to join you guys in good company to talk of the issues and also inform the people of the country, those who are listening and those who will eventually get to listen to the program. The weekend was okay. It was good. Today was my day back at work, so just came from the semester break. So again, the struggle the struggle continues. So we just have to keep pushing, very interesting conversations today. And as it relates to what is going on, just catching up with some of the news and seeing some of the things that are happening. So we hope we can shed some light on what is going on.
Yes, Frank. I just wanted to make sure that before I continue, that his listeners know that you won, beside you being the president of our party, you are a social scientist, you earn a master's degree, and you're also a consultant, and I can say that you're presently a lecturer at the Dominia State College. By and large, you're a community man, and you have actually been in the political sphere before because you have contested general elections. Is that correct, sir? Right.
And also,
very correct.
He is also arguably the most powerful woman in Dominica right now.
Oh yes, certainly. Boy, when you see you have that kind of leverage, I don't even want to come close because I cannot come in that league. That league is too big for me. It's a high league. Anyway, congratulations and welcome. Dr. Fontaine.
It's a good life, Soso. Soso is a good life.
Very good life.
It's a good
life. Yes, Doc. So tell us what happened
over
the
weekend.
What
a very special good night, of course, to our many listeners already tuning in and catching up with us today, the 19th day of January. It's good to have with us our president, Ms. Sanford, and of course, Soso. And to all of you that are tuned in, it's great to be back with you and certainly looking forward to tonight's program.
Oh yes, certainly. And I know the mood is good because the feedback is that, a lot of people are looking forward to our rally coming up on the 1st of February, and the excitement is high. I think the youth, they are very eager to hearing so many things. And so as we go by, as we, deliberate on the issues, we will from time to time touch on it and remind our listeners. And also we expect to solicit funds from to support the movement because we have been there by the last 24 years. Notwithstanding the adversities and the challenges, we have stood up for you. And I think it is time that you always put your money where your mouth is, but it is time to extend a generous hand to us to give us the encouragement to move forward. So, gentlemen, we're going straight into it. We know so for some time now we have been bombarded with the whole idea of electoral reform. And in our own very situation here in Dominica, it seems to me that this government continues to hang over the situation and doesn't want to get it right. even when the Electoral Commission was given the mandate by law under the Registration of Electors Act to actually get that ball rolling with confirmation, we still see a lot of loopholes, and I mean, you'll speak to it, Doctor, and Mr. Sanford, and also to you seeing the clear disenfranchisement of first-time voters not being able to get a chance to exercise their franchise, and they are not registered. And I was trying to imagine if at all now, the usual early elections business that I've been calling there comes about in Dominica, where do we stand? So, Claudius, can I get your feedback? And then, Doc, you will
deliberate. For sure. I haven't been very vocal as it relates to the electoral reform process, because I think it's common sense. You will see all the machination from the government to give themselves the advantage, right? And it came down to the confirmation process where you need an ID or either a passport, a driver's license, or even a social security card to get registered. And that is proven to be difficult. And even the numbers and the motivation for people to confirm is very, very low. I think the process could have been way easier, and I think we should start, sounding that bell, that a total re-registration would have been much, much easier, cheaper. It would have definitely not infringed on the adult suffrage or the franchise of the people to cast their vote, which is a normal human rights under our constitution, to be able to vote for a government of your choosing by when you turn 18 years. So I think it's not too late. The process has been slow. It has not been encouraging. It has been costly. It is inefficient, because I mean, you go to the places and you see the people they're working every day. They sit there on their phones, nobody comes in, and they do that day after day after day. This is a very inefficient process. I think the government, I am calling upon them tonight to this medium to really consider a total re-registration where people use their birth paper and a witness and of course the proof of residence in the constituency, in the location where they are, and have the people re-register to vote. Our population is about 65,000. It is not 70,000 definitely, for sure. Even with the just to digress a little bit, even with the census of last year, of 2021, which was done in 2022, you still have people going around collecting data, say they're working for the census still in 2026. So I don't know what is wrong with the government about information and getting the right information, but I think we can re-register 40,000 people, which is about maybe that of the voting age in Dominica, maybe maximum 50,000 in a matter of 3 months if we go ahead with a very efficient process. If people are to bring their birth papers and a witness and some proof of residence, we can register 50,000 people in 3 months, and we can have an election going that is that would have a clean list, and people wouldn't be disenfranchised to exercise their human suffrage or their adult suffrage. So this is really what I would like to say on it. I am not going into the category of criticizing or saying why they're doing it. It is very clear the intent of this government with the confirmation process. Anybody with common sense could see that, and it's not working. It's really not working. So I think it's about time we call upon them to reevaluate the process and just do a total re-registration. They can meet the same objective in less time. So that's what I would say on that for now. So
yes, yes. And Doc, it's interesting that is brought up, but because early days before the consultation, if Dennis Byron, the United Workers' Party position, and many other positions, including the ERC, one of the fundamental basis for us, actually advocating for electoral reform is that we did call for a full total registration, a total new registration, and the government, again, did not see it fit to have that as part of the reform. And also, too, Doc, just before you comment, I know you as the leader of the United Workers' Party, and in collaboration with the Electoral Reform Coalition, there was a decision made. In fact, you all wrote to the Electoral Commission, at least stating some of the problems that existed with respect to confirmation. And I believe that it is now timely that you can revisit some of these things, including the total flagrant violation of our constitution, whereby this government continues or the Electoral Commission rather, continues to defy the Constitution by not adhering to continuous registration under the Act, and has seized new registration. What is your comment on all of this?
Yes, so as Claudia said, the whole process is flawed. The whole process is not working. I believe that from the strength of the past 2 months, what we have seen is not going to work. I mean, it is clear that people are shying away from confirming, some of them through no fault of theirs. Because let me remind Dominicans that the electoral office has deliberately taken away the ability for a number of persons to confirm by putting it in faraway places. For example, the people in Warner would have to go all the way to Mao to confirm. The people from Yampis, Belleville, Stock Farm would have to go all the way to Foncole to confirm. The people from Mont Prosper and Wharton Waven have to go all the way to Trafalgar and so on. So already people are disadvantaged, one. Secondly, you have a situation where the whole idea that people must use a birth certificate, driver's license, or social security card has already put out more than half. We estimate more than half of the persons who are eligible to confirm will not be able to confirm because they do not have the kinds of documents that has been called for by the Electoral Commission. So they've started off on the wrong foot. It is not working. We can see that from the numbers that have been confirmed after 2 months. Very, very, very low numbers. People are telling you straight up they will not go to confirm no matter how we try to encourage people. They're saying even if they wanted to confirm, they are not able to because they don't have the necessary requirements to do so. So we are again appealing to the Electoral Commission to do the right thing and either revamp the whole confirmation process by putting in confirmation centers in every place that you have registration centers. That is one. And also ensuring that we revert back to SRO 27, which allows for the use of birth certificates and a picture ID. We believe that if that is put into place, the process, there is still time to rescue the confirmation process. In the absence of doing that, I fear that we will not have enough people confirmed by the time it ends in October of next year. In addition to that, we have the very vexing issue of registrations, where first-time registrants who, according to our constitution, it is inscribed in Article 31 of our constitution, that persons who get the age of 18 during that 5-year period shall be able to confirm, or they shall be able to register as voters. That is a fundamental right that we have that's enshrined in our constitution, and this basic fundamental right is being violated every day because there are scores and scores of young people who are anxious to get registered and who are not able to do so. So in my own humble opinion, the whole process is compromised. The whole process, electoral process in Dominica, it is not working and it needs to be fixed. It is broken. It's a broken system that needs to be fixed if we want to boast of any kind of free and fair elections in Dominica. And I fear at the end of the day, what is at stake is a fair electoral process. What is at stake here for us in Dominica is not being able to have a free and fair election process. And so we again call on the Electoral Commission to do the right thing. And again, we are suggesting two basic things. You have to improve on the confirmation centers. Firstly, you have to ensure that the registration centers are equipped to be able to take the photographs of persons who are going to register. And thirdly, you need to reintroduce SRO 27. We know that it is there. It is something that the Electoral Commission has debated, and they know that they can do, and they should do that and do it quickly. We need to rescue this confirmation process, and it needs to be done now.
Yes, one of the fundamental pillars of our democracy, or any democracy around the world, is that your country must be able to observe a good electoral process, and in that light, obviously you will have to marry that or collaborate this with a thriving democracy. What is Dominic is democracy under threat in our country? Because given that this government continues to be a spoiler in the whole process of even trying to put proper reforms in place. And yet it is that the Electoral Commission blanketly just violating the Constitution by just stopping the registration. Is democracy under threat? Claudius?
To say democracy under threat is maybe stretching it. I wouldn't be as bold to say that it's under threat, because we must also realize that there's some aspect of democracy that is alive and well. We still have freedom of expression to some extent, in our music, in our talk shows, in our calypsos, if you want to go that far. As it relates to how it is exercised, we have questions there, because there's a lot of discrimination and intimidation. So a few people are able to do that. For example, I saw in the youth gathering of the South with the Prime Minister that the youth representative of the Labour Party from the territory, that is how it was interpreted, are the same ones that are working in the confirmation centers. And I find that to be strange, because political gatherings are usually people who work in the electoral process by law or by true moral standards would have to avoid associating, with those kind of organizations, right? So you see now that those restrictions on the normal citizen, if you use that term in open brackets, are not totally upheld, because if you support the government and you work in the civil service, you can still express yourself, and you are given rules. Like in the Kalinago territory, we have people that was in the priesthood and now those distributing hams, and like those areas that once was sacred and people look up to them are being painted gray. You see civil servants that normally would not be so politically active. If they support the government, then they become very active, and others are looked upon or discriminated against. In those manners, we can say the pillars that keep our democracy strong, some of them are being eroded. And in the voting process with this new confirmation, where you have a few people, because of their economic standards or economic standing in the society, are technically being denied the opportunity to express their adult suffrage, their right to vote. So there we have some attacks on democracy in some very subtle ways. And I believe the people as a country, we need to call these out and make them better. And that is why the electoral reform process was initiated, and was hoping that it would be done in a very efficient and professional way that would bring some maturity to our democracy. But again, we see there it's being interfered with in a very unfair ways.
Yes.
So that we can say these are the areas we need to look at, where our democracy is being eroded, not totally under attack, but eroded and made weaker, when by the nature of things over time, our democracy should mature. We see in some of these areas of maturity are being manipulated or tampered with. So that's how I would say it for now. And that's why I believe, again, a total re-registration. I understand Doc's explanation of the process, which is fair. If we can get the good process to go on, maybe we could have some success to the confirmation process. But I think we can meet the same objective if we just do a total re-registration.
Yes. Yeah. Thanks for that. Thanks for the clarity again. And it was really a question directed, particularly in the area of, a good electoral process. So I get. I mean, it is you probably measure there and cautious, and obviously I get a sense that it seems to me there is some erosion taking place with respect to, you know, our democracy having to thrive comfortably under what we call a good electoral system. But Doc, let's shift gear a little bit though. We're going to shift gears a little bit. Some time ago, the US imposed some measures on, and it is mainly concerning the small island states. I know there are 75 countries now, where visa, restrictions have been, placed on these countries. But because we're in this region, the Caribbean region, and a number of the small island states, like Dominica and others, have been, mentioned and implicated. What can you tell us is happening now? What is happening? Where are we going from there? Because we don't have food party constituents, or if you have to say food party, citizens coming out from other places into these countries. What are the implications for us as small island states, particularly a country where we had no formal information or formal information given to the Dominican public?
Well, certainly. So I want to start first with the question of the third party country refugees that Dominica has signed on to already. We are told that some 7 Caribbean countries have signed on to that thing. We are also told that it happened on January 4th when the agreement was signed. And what this allows for is for individuals who are not welcomed into the United States through either a asylum process or individuals who may be set to be transferred out of the United States because they have failed to satisfy the authorities that they should remain in the U.S. There, and if they claim that they may be prosecuted or they otherwise would be harmed or tortured in their home country, then they would have to go to a third country. And that's where the word third country came about. So we are looking at individuals who might say, well, I can't go back to Guatemala. I cannot go back to Tanzania. I can't go back to Eritrea because if I do, I will be killed. I will be tortured. And so they would be allowed to go elsewhere. We have now been told that when they go before the judge, they have 2 choices. They're given 2 countries to choose from. So he said, you can't go back to your country, okay? You have 2 countries from which to choose, and you have to decide which one you're going to go to. And then once you have decided which one you're going to go to, by virtue of this agreement with the Caribbean countries, they will be then sent to one or the other of the Caribbean countries. So we are facing a situation where we are likely to be having individuals who are coming to the country. Now, mark you, these are individuals who, once they arrive in your country, they will be looking for work. It's not like they're going to go to a detention center or to a prison or anything. These are individuals who will be coming into your country, and probably the first thing they'll be looking for is to find work because they need to sustain themselves. They probably have families in the countries that they come from that they need to send money back to, like they were doing in the United States. So it becomes very complicated very quickly. And I get the sense that Dominica is not necessarily prepared. We do not have the infrastructure. We do not have the wherewithal. We do not have the resources that can take care of these people. We do not have the jobs that they can get. And so I think in the case of Dominica, we're in an extremely difficult situation. And when that happens, this is only going to add to the hardships that we have in this country. It's going to add to our declining state of the economy because these are individuals who are not necessarily coming there with money to invest or so on. These are average Joes who are looking for work, who would want work, and who have very little to contribute in terms of resources to our country. So I think we're in an extremely bad place with that particular occurrence. And we are in this situation because Dominica seems not to be able to be in any position to bargain because of what has happened with our CBI program. And as you pointed out, we've had this imposition of this partial travel ban on Dominica that was added to now that all applications for immigrant visas, basically green card, all of those applications are now frozen or paused, as the US will say. So that means no one from Dominica is going to be getting any visa, immigrant visa, to go back to the United States or to go to the United States. That is frozen. Our students will not have access to student visas. Is now the visitor visas are also constrained. That's also on pause. No new visitor visas are being given. That is the B1 and B2, the more popular B1 and B2 visas. That will have a serious impact, and already is having a serious impact on travel. I traveled yesterday on the weekend, and I was shocked to see how the airport was empty. I mean, I boarded a plane that would normally hold 60 or so persons. There were probably 10, 15 of us on that flight. And I was told while I was in the airport that the only persons who were traveling really, well, a few tourists and Dominicans who are either citizens of the United States or who hold green cards. Visitors or persons with B1, B2 visas are really not, they're not feeling comfortable to go to the United States. Visas have been revoked left, right, and center. I know of at least 2 individuals who received email messages while in the US on their visitor visas that their visas were now canceled. All right, so the US Embassy, they're going back through the files, and that was an order that was put forward by the US government in November of last year, where they asked that all of the applications be reviewed. In that process of reviewing persons who have received visas, the embassy has started canceling. So that's another problem. People do not want to travel for fear that when they get to the US after spending all of this money for tickets and everything else, you get to the US border and you're told that your visa is canceled. That could be very embarrassing. You'll be placed into a holding cell and sent back to your country. So there's a lot of embarrassment and problems and difficulties that our people are encountering. And let me just be clear, on this. We are where we are because of the mismanagement of this Skerrit Roosevelt administration. Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit has proven over and over again that he is not fit for leadership in this country, that he has not done well by the people of Dominica, because he failed to adhere to common sense and to do what was right by the people. With regards to the CBI program, we're now in this situation, where our Dominicans will have having difficulty traveling overseas. They're afraid to travel overseas for fear of embarrassment. Some people are having their visas canceled. Others are told that they will no longer be receiving any visas. Students who lined up to go to the US can no longer go to study. And on top of all of that, we have a situation where we may be receiving into Dominica persons who are just going to add an increasing burden on our country. I will say again, Dominica is not in a position to accept refugees or asylum seekers from outside or from the United States. We do not have the infrastructure. We do not have the ability to police those individuals. We do not have the ability to provide for their well-being. This is going to be a disaster, especially in a situation and in a country where you have very little job creation, very little movement in the economy. The people in the country are already struggling. And one of the best avenues that we had to get out of Dominica is now closed shut, thanks to the Prime Minister of Dominica. So it's a very difficult situation that we're in. And I am just hoping that things get better. But something tells me that it's going to get a lot worse before it does in fact get any better.
Yes, and so Claudius, I mean, you being, an economist by profession as well. You've been teaching economics. You're familiar with social issues, and I would just like to hear your perspective with respect to the social issues. What are the implications for Dominica with respect to what you've just heard from Dr. Fontaine, and what does it mean for us, as a small country
Yeah.
and already overburdened with some of the issues we have already domestically?
So the question is, how did we get here?
Right?
And the answer is very simple, because the answer is we as Dominicans did not hold the Labour Party government accountable and transparent over the last 25 years. Period. No debate about that. The population of Dominica now did not hold their government accountable and responsible and transparent. That is one. Secondly, we allowed a lazy, greedy government to fool us for 25 years. And let me qualify that. The Labour Party government has made it their duty to sell passports as one of the main revenue earners in Dominica economy. They have corrupted it, they have been reckless with it, and that is where we end up today. No debate about it. There's no argument about that. So that's it. Because of that, we do not have the bargaining power to influence the US in anything that they're doing. So we are on the receiving end. As a matter of fact, so much so that our government cannot even be very clean with us and realistic with the conditions and the agreement they have. This is again shameful. After 25 years of non-transparency, 25 years of recklessness, 25 years of greed, our government still cannot come forward and tell us exactly what is going on. So that again is shameful. So where do we go from here is the next question. And where do we go from here? As Doc rightly said, we're going to have a period of very harsh realities. Our students who dreamed of going to America, they have to cancel that dream. If you are 17, 18, 19-year-old at college, maybe in high school, and you've thought about maybe you could go and make a life in America, you maybe have to pack that and start looking at how can I stay in Dominica and make a life for myself, build wealth, and start innovative business ideas that can sustain my livelihood and help me start a family in Dominica. That is the social reality of what is happening now. And what does it mean? It means that we need a government that is willing and able to work within what exists in our country, the resources, the human capital we have, the natural resources that we have within our geographical boundaries, to help create the environment where our people can be creative, innovative, and they can deal well. For 25 years, this government has shown clearly, it has demonstrated that it cannot do that. The only thing it could do was sell passports. Passports hustle us all over the world, being very reckless, and now we are paying the price. Each and one of us have to pay the price. If I were this government and members of cabinet, I would do the honorable thing, and I would have surrendered all my visas as a sacrifice to show that the people I feel their pain. But these guys are not going to do that. As a matter of fact, we saw the Prime Minister beating his chest about his visa because he don't really care about the people.
That's correct.
This government have been using the people of Dominica to enrich themselves and meet their own personal goals of living in mansion and having 1, 2, 3 mansion being built in other people's name and all that stuff, where the poor people now have to hit the road running sans soulier. The shoes is gone. The soul of the shoes is gone, ladies and gentlemen. So Dr. Fontaine, you running now on your flat pied, and you're feeling the real heat of the stones and the gravels on Dominica, and it's going to get worse. And I think the people of Dominica now, and what is hurtful, what is very hurtful is that some of my brothers and sisters in Dominica has taken the position that, hey, I don't have to go to America, I don't care. So let me give you a real life story. A very real life story that happened to me and my family and my wife. We adopted a little boy about 6 years ago, 10-year-old. The His father was in prison. His mother died when he was 1 year in an accident. The teachers of the school say he had a mental disability. He couldn't learn. Right? We took this little boy in, worked with him, and within a matter of 2 years, he was able to do common entrance and came very close to getting a scholarship.
Wow.
He sent him to
Congratulations.
high school, and in high school, he was averaging over 76% in all his courses in first form. He got a scholarship to go to boarding school in the US, and right now, he's in boarding school. He's on the athletics club of the school, he's on the football club of the school, and he's working on the farm and during the holidays and during school, he works in the library, making a good life for himself. If you were to leave it up to the parents of this little boy, who didn't see 5 years, 6 years down the line, far less for 10 years, 15 years down the line, they would have said, hey, I don't give a shit about what is going on. I don't want to go to the US. But this little boy, who the entire community, including his school, had given up on him, is now he's making a life for himself in the US. How can we as people of Dominica not take this situation serious? In a matter of a day or two, a person's life, a young person's life in Dominica can be transformed. And they would need to have the privilege of having a US visa to go shine on the Olympic stage, go shine in a club, play some football, go shine somewhere through the US and into Europe, play on some big football club and make a livelihood for themselves. Tomorrow we could have somebody outstanding in cricket that makes Dominica side, goes on to the West Indies side and has to travel and needs a visa. Tomorrow a musician, a young person in the streets, the back streets of Gotha or Yampis could come up with some good music through their talent and then move on to be entertaining the world and making some real money. These are the real issues that we need to look at with those situations and the social impact it can have on families in every corner and cranny of this country. And I calling on Prime Minister Skerrit tonight to do the honorable thing. That visa you beat your chest on people about, surrender it. Surrender it as a means of retribution to what you have caused the suffering of the Dominican people to go through as it relates to their visa. I'm calling on you tonight. If you are a man, as you say, for the people with you, you have benefited from for the last 25 years and build yourself so much that you can come and beat your chest now and tell them you get your visa, no problem, not your fault. Give up that visa, surrender that visa, and show some retribution to the people of Dominica, because you are the one who caused that. And the young people of Dominica are going to have to pay that price way into their future. People that have families that were maybe hoping that they would move out of the country and make a life outside there where the opportunities are, that chance is gone. But so before I end on this topic, I want to say I have figured out a way as an alternative government that we can work our way through to get the US government to reconsider that kind of punishment they have unleashed upon us. There is a way. It takes people that have creative minds and people who have true, genuine concern for the people of Dominica to figure out those mechanisms and those ways. And there is a way. I've figured out something. I've put it into a real situational test. And I think if we allow the opportunity by the Dominican people, we can get our way back into the good books of the US, and we can get our people and the integrity of our country back on track.
Yes. So
yes. So I just wanted to piggyback on what Claudius just said, and also to make the point and to strengthen the point that this is not only going to impact persons who do not want to travel to the US or has no business going to the US. Some people may be rejoicing, saying, well, it does not bother me because I had no plans of going to the US. Others are saying, well, why do you guys want to go to the US? It is more than that.
yes,
It's a lot more than that. And let me explain why every single Dominican should be concerned or must be concerned. I mentioned about the empty planes that are going. The individual, you could be a taxi driver. You could be someone working in the hotel industry here in Dominica. If the planes because they're not getting the number of passengers as they used to, they are going to cut back on the flights coming into Dominica. That's going to have an immediate impact upon our taxi drivers, upon our hotel industry, and so on. So you might be working in the industry, you might be working as a waiter or as a waitress in the hotel industry, you might be working as someone at the front desk or wherever, as part of that industry. And when the planes stop coming, then your job is on the line. So you don't want to go to the US, you have no business, you're not interested, but it's going to come and meet you right there in Dominica, because there is a possibility of job loss on account of that. That's a very important point to note. The second very important point, I want every person listening to hear that very, very clearly. In every instance where the partial travel ban has become a full travel ban, it comes with a warning by the US authorities that their nationals, US citizens, should not travel to those countries. If, God forbid, we move from a partial to a full travel ban, that will become operational. And from the time the tourists here or the American citizens here that their government is advising them not to go to a certain country, they will not come. That is going to have implications for our cruise ship industry. So if, for example, you're accustomed of selling your little souvenirs and your little plants and fruits and so on to the tourists, all of a sudden, that is gone. Your livelihood is gone. If you have a little bus that is transporting the tourists when they come on the cruise ship, that is gone. You have a little place where they stop and they buy a sandwich or they buy some fresh fruit and so on, that is gone. So every single Dominican has the potential for being impacted. I also saw online, and it was extremely disturbing to me. I saw where the largest Black travel agency in the United States, the largest Black group that looks after the welfare of Black travelers across the world, they were warning them about traveling to Dominica. Their concern was quite simple. Dominica has signed on to accept individuals from third countries who may be criminals or who may impose a burden on Dominica. And their advice is that Dominica does not have the infrastructure or the means to take care of these individuals. And they were advising their members to reconsider travel to Dominica. Reconsider travel to Dominica. So if people have to take that on seriously and figure out we are going to have a problem down the road, they will not come. So that's what I'm saying. It is not as simple a matter as not getting a visa to go to the United States. These things has some serious repercussions, some serious consequences, and every single Dominican should be concerned. And that's why it makes it even more painful for me to have seen the flippant way in which the Prime Minister dismissed the concerns of other people. Say, well, I have my visa. So you have your visa, Mr. Prime Minister. But that does not take away the fundamental problems which we will face because of the partial ban that you have caused to be imposed upon the people of Dominica. And it's time you own up to this. It's time you accept that you are the one responsible for it. And it's time you tell the Dominican public how you intend to get out of it.
Yes, thanks. And earlier on, when Claudius made the point about, the adoption of that boy and the way he seemed to be on a good trajectory of life and good recovery, let me just congratulate you and your wife for this stewardship, for this, guardianship. It seems to me that it is just based on the prevailing environment and under whose direction and care a child can be, so that he or she can realize such things. I mean, before I start reading some of the comments from our viewers, Doc, I noticed it's a serious thing, and I call it forced migration on the small island states. But it appears to me that there are little song bites coming out from the various heads of government, and even so, some of what is being enunciated may well sort of bring some sort of division in CARICOM, especially with the comments of Dr. Terence Drew from St. Kitts and Nevis. But let me just read a few of the short comments made by some, governments ahead. And I'm not hearing our Prime Minister at all. It seems he's not highlighted, he's not taking that serious. So let me just take number one. The Barbadian government does not hide its dissatisfaction. Kerry Simmons, Minister of Foreign Affairs, describes the agreement signed as unwilling, highlighting the pressure exerted by Washington, which is difficult for small island economies to ignore. Gaston Browne's, Antigua's Prime Minister, that Gaston Browne's comment, Antigua and Barbuda imposed a cap of 10 asylum seekers per year, fluency in English and mandatory professional training, initial right of residence limited to 24 months, and a termination clause within 90 days. Now, it was interesting to hear what Dr. Terence Drew of St. Kitts had to say. And here it is that the president of CARICOM announced, and he being the president of CARICOM himself, announced that his country, the St. Kitts and Nevis, will not receive Haitian refugees, citing security concerns. This decision highlights tensions within CARICOM, where Haitian immigration is sometimes seen as a silent invasion. So, Doc, already, just with that forced migration upon the small island states, already they are not settled. We are not hearing from some, particularly our Prime Minister, but yet the Haitian nationals have found themselves right in the center of this migration. And they cannot go back to Haiti because of the situation in Haiti, and would have been preferred to be in some other Caribbean country. Here it is that St. Kitts and Nevis has already said, no, we can't accept. Where is all of this going, Doc? What is it for us again? Where is all this going?
I'm glad you mentioned the fact that the other Caribbean countries are pushing back. They are taking note. They are laying down conditions. And it seems like there are no conditions laid out for Dominica. So we're going to accept all those who come. But the question is, how are we going to deal with them? How are we going to take care of them? Already, we are facing a serious economic problem in this country. Already, we have a problem of a very low and stagnant economic growth. Already, we have a problem of extremely high unemployment in this country. Youth unemployment is probably 85%. We have some serious issues in this country already. And to compound it, our government appears to be mute. Our government appears to be mumu. So I will tell you this, man. It seems to me that our Prime Minister is completely out at sea. He seems unable to respond. He seems to lack the political will to do anything about the problems that have been faced by the country. Instead, he will spend his time pointing fingers at the opposition, wasting his time. I will say, I've said this before and I'll say it again. The duty of any political leader, of any prime minister rather, the duty of any government is to go to sleep at night, every night, thinking, how can I, as a government, improve the lives of the people of my country? How can I make their lives better? How can I make their lives more tolerable? How can I improve things for them? We are seeing the exact opposite from this government. They seem to lack this ethos. They seem to lack this fundamental understanding of what a government is. A government should not be a place where you go to enrich yourself. A government should not be a place where you go to build 2, 3, 4 mansions and take $64,000 on one, while the people of your country are sleeping on the leaky roofs. That should not be the position of a government. But that is what we have in Dominica. And that's why I say, I feel sorry sometimes for people that we have such a government in place, because now at a time of national crisis, we have a government that has shown it is incapable of rising to the challenge. It is incapable of standing up and fighting for the people of this country. And quite frankly, we are getting the raw end of the deal. So Antigua is placing restrictions, 10 persons coming in. St. Kitts and Nevis, although I don't agree with them at all, that they should exclude Haitians, but that is their stance. At least they're saying something. Mayor Motley of Barbados has expressed reservations about taking in people. We are nothing from our Prime Minister. Absolutely nothing. So he's not standing up for the people of Dominica. He's not defending the interests of the people of Dominica. He's not pleading on behalf of the students who will not be able to get a way of studying this year. He's not pleading on behalf of persons who've waited probably 10, 15 years to get an immigrant interview, who have patiently been waiting their turn to go through the process to be able to go and get a better life for themselves in the United States, because they are not able to get that quality of life in Dominica. They're forced to migrate. And now all of the dreams, all of the hopes are dashed. And the Prime Minister seems extremely indifferent. He's not giving any information to the Dominican public unless he's pushed. And quite frankly, I can tell you we're in a very bad place, extremely bad place here in Dominica. And the person who is responsible for all of this seems not to care, seems to be in his own world, as it were, doing his own thing, and leaving the Dominican public in their misery.
Yes. So and before I start reading again, let me give the 4 trends of this Prime Minister since he's been in office. You may recall some more, but I know 4 rudeness he has given Dominicans. When he was asked where he's getting money, he said it's not about damn business where Labour Party is getting his money, where he's getting his money. He said there's no law, no constitution, and nothing will prevent him from being nominated, knowing that obviously there were allegations of he having dual nationality. And then he come talking now about, look, he told a gathering, his own gathering, that he has life insurance, he has insurance, and if anything happened to him, he and his family can be flown out of Dominica. What about you? He is asking, he's the Prime Minister of the country, not putting the enabling environment right for it to happen to others. And he asking the crowd, what about you? What about you? And today he's saying, look, right now we have visa impositions. Dominicans, students, ordinary persons who like to go and visit their families in America, they cannot go. Businessmen, they are bogged by this thing, and you can only the most you can do is flash your passport on a screen and say, "Look, I have mines. What about you?" What great insults this Prime Minister has told Dominicans, and I will agree with Claudius. He really doesn't know what is happening to our people, and I really cannot come in terms to understanding how our people think, because these 4 examples that I've given so far, with respect to the Prime Minister's continued disrespect to the Dominican populace, I really don't know how to take that. But yet, we have some comments. Let me read. So, question, you mean you haven't, someone is saying, telling someone, okay, Devin Joseph, you mean you haven't heard of all the solutions provided by many times over by the United Workers' Party? The 10-pillar plan program, which has been highlighted every Monday on this program, and Thursdays on Q95. You all are not listening. Even security is listening and keeps repeating these solutions as its ideas. Pay attention, and I can say for sure, pay attention, because it's only malicious of you, that person who's stating that we have not been talking about what we are going to do, and probably you are not hearing it. It's total malicious. But earlier on, somebody made a comment, and the person said, democracy is often said to mean rule by the people. An example of this is any system of government in which people vote for their elected representatives into parliament. But, or however, simple definitions don't capture the complexity and opportunity of democracy. One person is saying that, look, I had the opportunity to work somewhere in Barbados, and he was working with some Antiguans who were on the project as well. And all of them had their ID with their picture on it, ID card, voter ID card, with pictures and fingerprints on it. So it begs the question, why can't we have a photo ID card with pictures and fingerprints on it in Dominica? What is different about us? Very good questions. Now, Doc, I know some of the other comments come from Mr. Sanford. You did not mention about the people having to go for health reasons. Yeah. Like I had to go for an operation on my hand after an accident. I think that was mentioned. And that is part of the social issues we're talking about. Yeah. And compounded with all what is being said, We see lately that there's a trend in the Caribbean, Rabbi. We have noticed that, especially the Labour Party regimes, that over time, some years over, we have noticed early elections. And I really would like you all to comment on this briefly. I mean, while it is true, the constitution of the respective countries give government the right to call elections, at any point in time. Especially in our case in Dominica, we have been having elections every 2 years, which doesn't give the country enough time to settle. And it's really putting real hard division on us. And it's not that we are making progress. And look, we saw recently in St. Lucia that happened with the Philip J. administration, now Mia Motley in Barbados. What is your take on that, gentlemen? What are you all saying on that? Claudius, you would like to react first to this?
Yeah, so what I have seen from even in Dominica, the 2022 election, and even in Barbados now, what we saw with Mayor Motley is that elections are being used as a strategic tool to keep the people, confused and indecisive. In the Mayor Motley case, it is clear that with all the visa restrictions that is being placed upon her country now, or not on her, but on the other neighboring countries that go to Barbados for their visa, is going to have a big economic impact in the next 3 to 6 months. So on average, about 1,000 Dominicans would go a year to Barbados to get visas, of which about 500 would have gotten. That is what the Department of State website is showing that information. So out of the 1,000 that go to Barbados, they all would have to get hotel accommodation, food, taxi, all. Now we multiply that by 10 other Caribbean countries, and you could see that impact it had on the Barbados economy. Now, that is going to cut down significantly. And in the next 4 or 5 months, you realize the impact is going to have on the Barbados economy. And because she has the authority to call an early election, she is using now that election to go early to avoid that true economic impact on the Bajan. So if she calls an election later down, her chances will be reduced. But if she do it now, the impact is not felt, and maybe she can get away with that. So we see that happen in 2022. We saw it happen, most of the times in the Labour Party regimes, because they think after a while that the people are not understanding what is happening. And they convince themselves that the people are not aware of it. What I can say for sure in Dominica is that the young people are aware. They are seeing things, and that could be the reason why they are preventing young people from registering vote now, because they do see, they getting the support of the young people. But I think as an alternative government, we have articulated the fact that we'll have 2 terms for Prime Minister, that as part of our pledge to the Dominican people. We have also spoke about having a fixed day for election. And I think all these are steps in establishing a more balanced democracy and electoral process. So we still believe that is necessary. And as an alternative government for Dominica, this will definitely be considered and enacted. Fixed day for election and 2 terms for Prime Minister. So these are all the areas that we see happening now that strengthen our resolve to having those policy action in place when we take the reins of government.
Yes, thanks. Dr. Fontaine?
It is very interesting to me what's going on in the Caribbean, and what that tells me is that probably it is time for us to take a second look at our 5-year terms. It might be people are suggesting that 5 years is too long, and it's probably better to go probably a 4-year term, as we have in the United States. Certainly something to consider. But what it also tells me, the behavior of, we saw it first with Ralph Gonsalves, then with Pierre Louis in St. Lucia, and now with Mia Motley, and quite possibly very soon with Gaston Brown and our own Roosevelt Secretary here in Dominica, is the fact that Caribbean leaders are getting increasingly scared of what is happening. And because of what they're anticipating, that things are getting worse, that things are not improving, Because if they were expecting that things were getting better under their leadership, they would delay. But as far as they're concerned, things are getting worse, and they cannot afford to wait until the end of the term. That is how I would interpret that. The fear that the more time you take is the more likely you are to be voted out of office, which tells me, quite frankly, that our prime minister may be considering a similar path. I think,
Yes.
based on everything I have seen and heard, I suspect that this prime minister of Dominica is thinking along the same way. We've only had elections now for the past 3 years. We've only done 3 out of the 5 years. It does appear as if we may have something coming up the pike.
Yeah. Yeah, so the clock is already striking against us, and soon we'll come for your closing remarks. But let me just take some of the other comments. And someone is saying good night to all of us, and the person saying, just like the PM's conscience has stopped working, so his reasoning clearly out of touch. PM has his medical insurance, his citizens don't have. PM has his visa, his citizens Pania cannot get. What a melee. And that is exactly what we have said earlier. And just someone again saying that I don't want to get it. Yes. So remember, the government is the people too, or the government obviously is part of the whole the population and the populace, yes, and their mentality. So change the people mindset is key, not just the government representative. We have to look at everything holistically. The majority makes up the government too as well. Yes, and that is why we continue to ponder and to go around and to continue to engage, educate, interact with the people of Dominica so that we can convey the message succinctly and in simple terms to them and to continue. Because that's the way we're going to do it. We are not going to fight. We were accused of trying to overthrow our government with a music system. If the government can maliciously make that claim, and it's just talk, we are talking. The biggest weapon we have is our mouth, and we are talking. We have to continue to talk, and that's what we will continue to do. So I agree with you, participants, that we have to continue to engage. And as we say that, before you all come with your closing remarks, let me just again remind our listeners of our Mo Banking ID and the account number, which they can at least put something there for us to continue the struggle to save Dominica. Our Mo Banking ID is 555-2242, and the bank account is 1005636. Again, the Mo Banking ID 555-2242, and the bank account is 1005636. And remember to visit our website uwp-dominica.com, click on donation, and there you go. Just do your thing. Again, uwp-dominica.com, click on donation, and right away you get access. You do what you have to do. Give responsibly, give with a good heart, give diligently, and we expect you to give it with your heart, because you are not doing it for us, you are doing it for Dominicans. So all of us have to collectively put our resources together, whether it's human capital, whatever resource that we have, let us contribute to the development of Dominica. So gentlemen, yes, the clock is slowly winding down and has obviously gone off time, but there's time for closing remarks from both our distinguished gentlemen. Claudia Sanford, President.
All right, thank you, Soso, again for having me tonight. It was a pleasure interacting, and to our listeners and those who view us on social media, again, it was a pleasure. When the people do well, the country do well. When the people's money are in their pocket and they spend their money, the country does well. For the last 25 years, we have had the government of Dominica. The political elites in the Labour Party have been the ones, sucking up all the cream of Dominica, and recklessly so, with their actions, have brought us to where we are now. It's time that we put order in our country. We restore some of the key principles and values which builds a sustainable economy. And with us, we have a man trained in that field, Dr. Fontaine, PhD in economics, has that qualification to do it. We're asking you for your support. We're asking you for your courage and strength in helping us in that fight, so that we can restore Dominica to order, and restore Dominica to true and sustainable economic development. And as the years go by, as the days go by, our voices will be echoing through every corner of Dominica. You'll be seeing our faces, and we'll be leaving our footsteps on the pavements and on the dirt road and the concrete road and the colas road of every village and every community in Dominica. This new WP executive under the leadership of Dr. Fontaine will walk and will also talk and will engage every Dominican at every level. Because if Dominica does well, every one of us will do well. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for the opportunity.
Yes, Dr. Fontaine?
Yes, I just want to encourage everyone to join us on the 1st of February in the village of Grand Fort. Make your plans to be there. That's an opportunity for us to come together and outline our vision for the future of this country. So we're encouraging everyone to come out in their numbers. Transportation will be provided in every single constituency across Dominica. So block out that date and see you in Grand Fort on the 1st of February from 12 o'clock. We expecting some very exciting time there, some good speakers, and also, a good focus on ourselves and us as a party, and as we work towards bringing meaningful change to Dominica. Lots of work to be done. Dominica is in a serious crisis right now. The country is not doing as well as we would have hoped, but we believe the United Workers' Party is committed to the development of this country. We are committed to bringing back agriculture in a big, big way. We are committed to a manufacturing sector, developing a manufacturing industry that will build factories in the water industry, in fish canning, in agro-processing. We have some excellent plans for this country, plans to put the Dominican public to work to create opportunities, not only for Dominicans living in Dominica, but for Dominicans in the diaspora, because we'll be going all out to encourage our Dominican diasporans to come back into Dominica with their investments, with their wealth, invest in the country. Opportunities will be provided. We have some exciting plans to entice our diasporans back into Dominica. That will be unveiled in due course. But we believe that with the 10 pillars at the center of what we are hoping to do, that we will do it. And in all of that planning as well, we will be moving very, very forcefully to have a very strong cooperation with the French countries of Martinique and Guadeloupe. We'll enter into an economic agreement with those two countries that will see us export a lot more of our produce to those countries. We'll see a lot more trade, a lot more movement of persons between those countries. So we have exciting plans for Dominica. We have not taken enough advantage of our neighbors to our north and to our south, but under a United Workers' Party government, we'll see a lot more of that happening. We'll see a lot more trade and commerce and people-to-people exchanges happening between Dominica and the French islands. So we're excited about what the United Workers' Party has to offer the people of Dominica. Come out on the 1st of February, hear what we have to say, hear more about our 10 pillars, and just meet your fellow brothers and sisters from across Dominica, because every single village will be represented. We expect hundreds and hundreds of persons to show up, and we're very excited and looking forward very much to it. February 1st.
Yes, thank you. But it would be nice. Let me just read that last comment there. It seems to be really the closing statement tonight on our program. And that is from our very own NEP packet. He's saying there, the contours of a new global order are clearly emerging before us. And within this evolution landscape, sovereignty can no longer be understood in isolation. Today, the true sovereignty is increasingly defined by a nation's strategic positioning within the global power structure, economically, diplomatically, and institutionally. In that context, he is of the view that the United Workers' Party's 10-pillar program offers a credible and pragmatic framework for navigating these realities. Let me say, gentlemen, thanks for the opportunity. That's the best way to put it down. And let me just remind our listeners of our 1st of February big convention rally at Grand Four. Come one, come all. And for all those who participated tonight, we appreciated your comments. And we all want to say that Dominica is a place that we all love. But until such time, this rogue government is out of the governance of this country, we will never see the light of the ever better Dominica. Thank you, Dr. Thomson Fontaine, and thank you, our president. We have such great persons with different talent that of diverse backgrounds, and we are all ready to go to rescue this country. We are always putting ourselves forward. So with this, I say, this was Real Talk tonight with your host, Glenroy, Soso Cuffy, PR of the United Workers' Party. I say God bless. Have a great and productive week. Until next time, we say good night. God bless.